Hi, good afternoon. My name is Sofia Rodriguez, and along with my team that is conformed by Analia Ponce, Carol Roman, and Diego Esquivel, we're going to talk about the reproductive systems.
Hello, my name is Analia Ponce, and today I will talk about the pathway of sperm. And this path begins in the testis, which is a place where sperm is produced, and from here it goes to the epididymis, which is a place where sperm matures. This process then continues once the penis is being stimulated, which can cause an ejaculation. If so, the sperm will travel through the vas deferens or the ductus deferens and arrive at the ampulla, where secretions of the seminal vesicle are added and the fluid is propelled through the ejaculatory ducts. And here a milky fluid will be added, creating semen. And lastly, this semen will arrive at the urethra, which is a place from where it is ejaculated.
Hello, my name is Carol Gabriela Román Troncoso, and now let's talk about the seminal liquid and the organs that contributes to its production. So first of all, what is the seminal liquid? Well, the seminal liquid is a fluid secreted by the prostate and other sex glands of the male reproductive system, which contains fructose and different enzymes that helps the sperm to survive. Since we know what the seminal liquid is, now let's talk about the production. It all starts in the immature sperm testicles and then goes to the epididymis, where they stay for certain days until they mature, and when this happens, the sperm go into the vas deferens or seminal. When a man is sexually aroused, the prostate and other sex glands produce whitish fluids, and that mixes with the sperm and creates the semen.
Now we can see the parts of the penis, the male organ for sexual intercourse, and we can divide it into three parts, simpler than the ones shown in the image. First, we have the root, which is the part nearer to the abdominal wall. Then we have the body or the shaft, and finally we have the glans, which is the end of the penis and where circumcision takes place. As we can observe in the image, we have the urethra, and the opening of the urethra is located at the tip of the glans of the penis. The urethra is a tube that transports both semen and urine out of the body. The penis also contains many sensitive nerve endings. Then we can see the testes. The testes are oval organs about the size of very large olives that lie in the scrotum, and most men have two testes. We can see here in the image the parts of the testes, the seminiferous tubes and the tubula albuginea. Then we have the epididymis, and this is a long coiled tube that rests on the backside of each testis, and this carries and stores sperm cells created in the testes, and its job is to bring the sperm to maturity and then let it travel through the next stages. And we can see in the image the parts of the epididymis has a head, which is the nearer part to the testis. Then we have the body, and finally we have the tail. After the tail, we have the vas deferens, which is another part of the reproductive system. Finally, from the organs, we have the urethra, and the urethra is a narrow fibromuscular tube, and as was mentioned before, it conducts urine and semen from the bladder and the ejaculatory ducts, respectively. to the exterior of the body. And we can see here in the image the parts of the urethra. First, we have the prostatic urethra. After that, we continue with the membranous urethra. And finally, in the last part, we can see which is the part of the penis. We can see the penile urethra. After seeing some of the organs, we can see now the external genitalia from the male. And we have 4 parts: the penis, which was discussed before. We also have the scrotum, which contains the testes. And around the testes, we have the epithelis, which helps to mature the sperm. The brain secretes hormones that control the testes. If we zoom into this part of the brain, we can see the hypothalamus and the pituitary gland. The pituitary gland has an anterior and a posterior lobe. The hypothalamus secretes gonadotropin releasing hormone, which targets the anterior pituitary lobe, and this causes it to secrete 2 hormones: LH, which stands for luteinizing hormone, and FSH, which stands for follicle stimulating hormone. These 2 hormones circulate in the testes and they regulate the testis secretion. When we look at the testes, we can see that there are 2 major structural components. We see the interstitial cells, which are brown stained cells right in the gaps between the seminiferous tubules and create testosterone. And then we have the seminiferous tubules, which are where the sperm is produced. LH is the hormone that stimulates the interstitial cells in the testes to produce testosterone, and then testosterone drives into spermatogenesis, and that maintains the secondary characteristics sex, like increased hair growth, muscle growth, bone density, among other characteristics. FSH is going to stimulate the sustentacular cells in the testes, and these structural cells are going to stimulate the sustentacular cells to release a hormone called androgen binding protein. And the effects of these are to enhance the ability to spermatogenic cells to bind to testosterone. And the last hormone is called inhibin, and it comes from the sustentacular cells. This hormone is released as a gauge of how many sperm are in the testes by the sustentacular cells. If the sperm count is high, a lot of inhibin is released, and if the sperm count is low, only a small amount of inhibin is released.
About the oocyte. The oocytes are produced in the ovaries. The ovaries produce the egg cells that are also called oocytes. Then these are transported to the fallopian tube, where they are fertilized by the sperm, and then they go down to the uterus. Like I said, fertilization occurs in the fallopian tubes, and after the eggs are fertilized, they go down to the uterus. Then they become a morula, then a blastocyst, and eventually they burrow into the uterine lining. This last process is called implantation. Now, I'm going to talk to you about some of the reproductive system of the organs of the female reproductive system. We're going to talk about the external and about the internal ones. We're going to only mention the most important ones because there are a lot. First, we're going to start with the external ones. The labia majora. The labia majora enclose and protects the other external reproductive systems. They are like large lips. They are relatively large and fleshy, and are comparable to the scrotum in the males. Now, the labia minora. These are translated as like small lips. The labia minora can be very small or up to 2 inches wide. They are just inside the labia majora and they surround the openings of the vagina, and the urethra. Now, the Bartholin's glands. These glands are located beside the vaginal openings and produce fluid or secretion. Clitoris. The two labia minora meet at the clitoris, a small and really sensitive, like little ball maybe, that is comparable to the penis in males. The clitoris is covered by a fold of skin called the prepuce, which is similar to the foreskin at the end of the penis. Like the penis, the clitoris is very sensitive to stimulation and can become erect. Now, the internal organs. We're gonna start with the vagina. Oh wait, I forgot in the external organs there is the anus. The anus is where the all of the poop comes out, but it's also part of the reproductive system. Now, the vagina. The vagina is the canal that joins the cervix, that is the lower part of the uterus, to the outside of the body. It is also known as a birth canal. Now, the uterus. The uterus is a hollow kind of pear-shaped organ that is where the fetus develops. The uterus is divided in two parts: the cervix, which is the lower part that opens into the vagina, and the main body uterus, that is called the corpus. The corpus can expand a lot, so that's how it develops a baby in there. And also the canal that through the cervix is the one that allows the sperm to enter and the menstrual blood to exit. Now, ovaries. The ovaries are a small kind of oval-shaped glands that are located on either side of the uterus, and these produce eggs and hormones. And the fallopian tubes. These are some tubes that are attached to the upper part of the uterus and serve as tunnels for the eggs. They serve as tunnels because the eggs travel from the ovaries to the uterus by using the fallopian tubes. Also, the eggs are fertilized in the fallopian tubes. So this would be it for a brief introduction of the female reproductive system.
Hello, my name is Carol Gabriela Román Troncoso, and now let's talk about the seminal liquid and the organs that contributes to its production. So first of all, what is the seminal liquid? Well, the seminal liquid is a fluid secreted by the prostate and other sex glands of the male reproductive system, which contains fructose and different enzymes that helps the sperm to survive. Since we know what the seminal liquid is, now let's talk about the production. It all starts in the immature sperm testicles and then goes to the epithelis, where they stay for certain days until they mature, and when this happens, the sperm go into the vas deferens or seminal. When a man is sexually aroused, the prostate and other sex glands produce whitish fluids, and that mixes with the sperm and creates the semen. So now let's talk about the uterine cycle. So when the feminine hormones that are the estrogen and progesterone that were produced on the ovarian cycle, they affect the endometrium, causing that the uterus suffers some cyclical changes that it's known as the uterine cycle. The uterine cycle, it is divided into three parts: the menstruation, the proliferative phase, and the secretory phase. Well, the menstruation lasts from 1 to 5 days, and it consists on the breakdown of the endometrium with blood passing out from the vagina. So Well, the low levels of the female sex hormones that are the estrogen and progesterone cause the menstruation. And then we have the proliferative phase that lasts from 6 to 13 days, and it consists of the buildup of the endometrium, which becomes more vascular and glandular. The proliferative phase is caused by the increased production of the estrogen by the new developing follicle. And as we talk about in the ovarian cycle, at this part after the menstruation, the estrogen starts increasing the levels, so the follicles develops. So now we have the secretory phase that lasts from 15 to 28 days, and consists of the endometrium doubling or tripling in the thickness and uterine glands producing a thick mucus secretion. This secretion of the progesterone that it's caused, like at this part, the ovarian cycle, it's on the last phase that we talk about, that it was the luteal phase, that it's when the progesterone starts to have more levels, and the secretion of progesterone by the corpus luteum causes the secretory phase. The secretory phase of the uterine phase. So the endometrium is now prepared to receive a developing embryo, and if fertilization and implantation do not occur, the corpus luteum will degenerate, resulting into lower levels of sex hormones that are the estrogen and progesterone, that because they don't need any more, because we don't have a developing embryo. So that will lead to the breakdown of the endometrium, and menstruation begins again.
The first one is abstinence. This means that you just never engage on sexual activities, and if you follow through, it is 100% effective, but it is very hard to actually follow through. Then we have birth control through surgeries. We have vasectomy for men, in which a doctor performs a surgery in which they cut a part of the vas deferens, and so the sperm can no longer come out of the body and reach the female. And for women, the method is called tubal ligation. In here, a doctor also performs a surgery where the oviducts are tied and cut up, so the ovule cannot reach past. Another method is oral contraception. In this, it's mostly pills, and you will take a pill following the schedule that is given in order for it to actually work. And they work by adding hormones into your body, like estrogens and progestins, that work similarly to progesterone. This prevents the follicle from being produced, and so ovulation isn't triggered. Another method is contraceptive implants. These work by thickening the cervical mucus and preventing the sperm from reaching the ovule. Another method is the IUD. This is a small object that is inserted into the uterus by an expert, and it causes changes in the endometrium that stop the implantation of an egg. We also have the diaphragm. This is a dome-shaped device, and it is placed over the cervix and prevents the sperm from reaching past it, and it is usually used together with spermicide, which is another birth control method that basically either kills the sperm or immobilizes it. And one of the most effective methods of birth control is using condoms. There are male and female condoms which help stop the sperm from reaching inside the female. So the female condom is two elastic rings that are connected by a polyurethane sheet. One of the rings has to be placed inside the vagina over the cervix, and the other lies outside and covers the external genitals. And the male condom is made of latex, and it is a bit like a glove that you have to place over the penis, and this stops the sperm from going inside the female vagina. And these are very effective, the most accessible, and also I think the most known. And of course they have the great advantage that they are the only ones that prevent STDs besides abstinence, but I mean, it's not the same. Another method is called Coitus Interruptus, and this is basically that before you're having intercourse and before the male ejaculates, he pulls out of the vagina to stop the sperm from going in. Another method is natural family planning. Basically, the woman has to monitor her fertility signals and using that predict when she's most probable to get pregnant, and if she wants to get pregnant, well, she uses that information, and if not, she avoids that time. And the last method is the morning after pill, and this pill is, you can buy it at any pharmacy, and you simply have to take it, and it will be a hormone bomb. And basically it releases a lot of estrogen and progestin, which give negative feedback and stop other hormones from being secreted that help lower estrogen and progesterone and cause the endometrium's breakdown. And so if an ovule had been fertilized, it will not have anywhere to actually grow. So the whole process is stopped. And that's it on the methods of birth control.